Hey now, this is what Sundays with Seba Inpu Ka Mut is really all about. Okay, so what we're doing is we spent a bit of time last week reviewing the cycles and a little bit of information talking about how the cycles should be utilized and interpreted so that they should not be looked at as a single day or single timed event, that it happens over a course of days, so that a full moon, in terms of the purposes that we utilize the full moon and full moon energy for, we'd say that the full moon is about between 3 and 5 days for the use of the full moon energy. And equinox energy and times can take anywhere from 4 to 9 days, depending on the cycle. And so when you have that understanding in terms of the energy from a particular celestial, cosmological, or even an earthly event like the moon cycle, like I talked about, or a special day, you'll notice that most folks now, they don't just have a birthday. We don't just have a birthday. You celebrate the whole month, as a way to expand and understanding and the opportunity that we have such a challenge in terms of being able to get everybody together in one spot all at one time. It affords us the opportunity to, and this is kind of a social colloquial sense, but still it's an adaptation of the traditions of our ancestors and understanding how the cycles work. So I want to expand on this concept of cycles a bit further and begin to introduce more of the Kemetic understanding, more of the Kemetic processes, as this is the primary social media for the Kemetic Aha and Sama Association. And so while you see the logo behind me, what I'd like to do is to talk a little bit, continuing in cycles, is to break down what we've referred to as the Sma-Tai-Wi, or the joining of the two lands, the joining and merging of the different temples, so that all the different temples can, in essence, kind of work together. A lot of what's been happening is you have in terms of the Western week, and you've heard me talk about calendars before, and we'll get more into that as we go on. But the primary piece is that while we're operating within this Western framework, there's a bridge energy that we utilize to bridge us from this Western calendar over on into the more traditional Kemetic calendars, which are connected to the heliacal rising of Suktet, or in the morning, when you look to the east, just before the rising of the sun, you'll see the return of the star Sirius A. And in the return of the star Sirius A, that is the start of the new year in Kemet. All right, and so just to get that cleared up, and so that is an event as well that can occur in a particular period of days. And depending on where you are in terms of your relation to the hemisphere, relation to the planet, that connection. And we noted that was the key trigger because it was connected to the inundation of the Nile, which, due to Western intervention, no longer floods and inundates, specifically because of the dams that have been put out, have restricted the flow and changed the microfauna and microfascia on the planet, but specifically along the Nile River's path. And so we won't get into that, but know that any place that they set up a dam, that is going to shift the subtle energy flow, even down to the lifestyle of the microfauna, talking about the fungi and the soil life and energy in the soil. All of those things are connected to the flow of water through the rivers that may be nearby. And so that when you dam the water and you try to use human control over something that is natural, you'll find that creates a great deal of conflict in terms of what the local environment is now able to bear, because the humans have introduced chaos where there was harmony. And so a great deal of what our ancestors did was to find ways to use the tools that they were given to understand how to build, how to move through, and also how to do so in such a way that doesn't disrupt the harmony of the space or the energy of the space. And so that's why I wanted to talk about this whole calendar piece. We're just going to look at a week, and I'm going to talk about that. And if there are some questions either on our social media, hit me up. If you're right here in the gram with us, I'll try and do it much more immediately. And if you're on one of our other social media platforms, I will respond in kind to your commentary a little later. So let's just start off, and I'll talk about basically the primary energy for the day. I'm going to talk about how this intersects with what we refer to as a NTRu, or transformation into the nature, or the becoming and the improvement of the character of an individual so that they become closer to the nature. Okay, because they live in us and we give them life, they give us life. It's a reciprocal process. And as such, we need to recognize what our role and function is in connecting that relationship. So again, my goal is, this is just a nice, light, easy exchange of information in case there are questions. I don't want to go too deeply in these sessions. I want to give you an opportunity to get the source information, and then we can come back and we could chop it up at a later date. So for this, in terms of the Sma-Tai-Wi, which again is the joining of the temples in terms of understanding, I'm going to just go through the days of the week, the way they're currently set up in the West, and kind of get some understanding on what those is for folks, because it's a hodgepodge, and then go to how we have mapped, and by we I just mean the community, map the Kemetic NTRu onto that as a bridge, and then we'll begin to talk about what we do going forward, how we get back to our traditional calendar and our traditional uses as other folks have, because the calendars still exist and they're still in use. So today would be called Sun Day. And I know many folks think that comes from the Greeks, but it actually comes from the relationship to Heru. And Heru would also be seen as where you get the concept of the hour of the day coming from, and Heru was where many of the folks would get Hercules, Heracles, and all those other derivations that lead to the sun. And so this typically was seen as the day of the sun, and the energy that comes up deals specifically with the masculine energy. And so that's why it's connected to Heru in that regard, but it's also connected to Sutek, or in other words, Set, Seth, or Heru the elder. So those energies all manifest in this day. And the primary aromatherapy, I'm going to talk about aromatherapy because it has its healing properties that are connected to it, is frankincense, the resin. Now, it's very important that there are a variety of frankincense, and our ancestors did not use these resins lightly. They prized them. So they weren't just used to say, I want X, or I like how that smells. So many of us judge an incense by how it smells, as opposed to looking at the deeper properties in terms of what does the soil bring to this particular herb or plant or bark or resin, and what are the nature of the properties that are afforded to this resin based off of the soil that it comes from as it extracts that soil. So in Kemet, what they utilized was the frankincense and also the myrrh trees from what a place known as Kush or Nubia or Tasseti, that particular region where they were grown, that nowadays you'd refer to them somewhat as Somalia. And so there's some indigenous trees that grow in the region there. And that's what I use. I try to be as specific and exact as I can be. And so we'll get into that a little bit later. Frankincense, while most folks know, it's also been co-opted by the Holy Roman Catholic Church and the Greek Orthodox Church in terms of the start of their ritual practices of the burning of frankincense and myrrh and sometimes other scents. But what we do is the frankincense is used as a way to not only cleanse the space, which many folks have now associated with the concept of smudging. I just want to just clarify once again that smudging is an indigenous practice to those on Turtle Island. The African practice is one that is used as smoking, but it's not in the sense of like, prepping meat, but in the context of utilizing the smoke to transform and to carry prayer and communication in between realms. Because smoke is both solid and air at the same time. I don't want to get too deep off into the whole science behind incense and its use and its metaphysics in terms of how we utilize that. But what it also does is the little microbes and other things that are in your space when you're using the frankincense, the vibration off the frankincense, as well as the scent and the smoke, cause them to want to disperse. And it also has particular orientation to brainwave output, to the way in which the brain operates, the way in which the brain functions through using the scent. It also has healing properties for the body in terms of its use as an anti-inflammatory. So that's dealing with the physical aspect of Heru and dealing with physical healing. And that will be on Sunday. See, real simple, real easy, right? Not too heavy, not going in too deep. And so on on Monday, okay, you got the Sunday, then you got the moon day. And you can look at this, and the reason we talk about this is based in Latin, and it's also based in Italian, French, and Spanish. So today will be called Domingo, or the dominant day. Day of the dominant would be the sun. And so lunes would be Monday or moon day. Luna, dealing with the moon, lunatic, moon lover. And so the moon energy is associated with Osset and Nebtet. And so many folks are familiar with Osset. Or Osset, she has the symbol of the seat, and Nebtet, which is her sister, which has the symbol of the upturned bowl with a house on top of it. Won't get into too much depth out there, but they were sisters, both connected to the moon, both connected to the waters, both fresh water and salt water. With Osset being seen as one of the great earthly mothers, and she's been connected through to, Holy Mother Mary in terms of the Roman Catholic traditions and the Greek Orthodox traditions in terms of the Christian practice. And so you'll see them utilizing her colors in terms of the colors of the sky, colors of the ocean, in terms of swathing, Mother Mary in those particular colors. And the particular kind of aromatherapy piece that's involved with her will be the jasmine, both the jasmine flower, the fresh jasmine scent. It's light, very good in terms of focusing the mind. Also, pure water. The sweet water is a variation on that and that. There's a great deal of the stories connected to Nebtet and Osset that deal with their actual magical prowess. And in terms of that, we're talking about cultivation of empathy, cultivation of compassion. So the moon day. So those are the properties that you want to work towards. On the Sunday, again, it's more masculine. You want to get physical. You want to move around a bit. Hence, you'll see certain activities are scheduled on these days. Like there's one happening, I think, momentarily, imminently, that's going to be going on that folks may be trying to hope they could gather. And, just because they ritually gather and don't understand, the desire for physical activity and festival and gathering, and don't understand the science behind why we do a great deal of the things that we do in community. So then we'll come back to that. So we get Moon Day, Osset and Nebtet. Nebtet is called the Lordess of the house. She deals with aspects of subtlety, invisibility, or not just invisibility, but stealth isn't quite used the way I'd like it to, but you kind of just be able to move quickly and quietly. She's connected to the new moon, as Osset is connected to the full moon. Being able to move in light and darkness quietly, swiftly, powerful. Okay. Now, Tuesday or Tears Day. Now we're going to get to, we're talking about some of the Norse myth smashed in, like we talked about at the beginning, with these Norse deities and these deities from the Germanic tribes, the Norse tribes, mashed in with some Latin to give you your 7-day week. All right, and I say your 7-day week is because different cultures, measure the weeks and the processes differently. I've covered that in another Sunday chat, but today I just want to keep going. So it's Tears Day, and so that's why it has the particular unique sound, but it's connected to. So of course, Moon Day is connected to the moon, Sunday is connected to the sun. Tears Day, Tyr was again this Norse one, but you may also know it as Martes, or some variation of that in French, Latin, and Spanish and Italian, Martes. And so what they're talking about is Mars, the god of war, and Tyr is the Norse god of war. So again, masculine day, dealing with that kind of energy. The scent that is built incorporated with that is pine. So that way you deal with a pine. You want to deal with your masculinity. You want to deal with it in terms of, it's a great time to do some martial arts practice. It's a great time to do self-defense practices, to do some some iron work, like weightlifting. Those are a good thing. If you notice, that's a good day to get that kind of energy in. And then you have Woden's Day. Many people call it Hump Day. It's halfway through the week, but you hear me, Woden's Day or Wednesday is the way I used to remember to spell it. But it's done that way because it's Odin's Day, or the day of the great Allfather, Odin, who was known not just for his power, but aspects of his diplomacy and his wisdom. And so that's connected it's connected with Inpu Ka Mut for its trifold energy, for its ability to have the use of the caduceus right here behind me, over my head there, as a way to address that. That's one of the symbols. I know folks think it's associated with Hermes. It's not. I mean, it is that associated with Hermes in terms of the navigator and the communicator, as opposed to Asclepius, or the healing, which is just a single snake. We'll get into that symbol a bit later. I may spend a session actually breaking down the logo as to what it means and why we utilize that particular frame in KhASA. But getting back to Wednesday, or Woden's Day, Odin's Day, that particular day is connected to the scent you want to use. It's called Lily of the Valley, is the incense. It's very difficult to get in the West. And so a lot of times what I will use is, you can also use fresh dried lavender flowers. I don't recommend using the white sage to invoke the energy, although it has been in use because the Westerners have gotten in touch with white sage and, damn near just, driven it to extinction. So if you're not from an indigenous community, please leave the white sage alone. Just leave it alone. Find another grass, find another plant, and do that. Okay. What I have done in terms of discussion with some elders from the Southwest here is I use copal. I use the white copal and the black copal, as it creates a similar energy for the Inpu Ka Mut energy. You can also, I won't get into the other parallels in African systems. Just going to keep it clean for you. So that way, if you have an opportunity, you have a question, we can jump on in and get right to it. Okay. So we got Wednesday. So then we get, the next day is Thursday. Thursday. Yeah. So that day is, devoted to, in the Kemetic tradition, we say it's connected actually to Jehuti, Seshata, and Ma'at. So, Wednesday being a day of communication, day of wisdom, Thursday in this tradition also is a day of wisdom, but it's more so in the lines of wisdom of the arts in terms of the high sciences, math, science, calligraphy, writing, healing arts in terms of like the Tai Chi Chuan, Qigong, acupuncture, acupressure, massage, those kind of healing arts, the writing arts, the cultivation of deep internal knowledge through introspection, through meditation, and the practice of right action and right behavior through the Ma'at principles. So understanding the way in which you would say the negative admonitions of Ma'at on a daily basis for yourself, looking at how you can improve your character and demonstrate that on a daily, hourly, every breath to breath basis. And then you have Frigga's Day or Friday. And Frigga's, the Norse goddess of beauty. And you'll notice there's a balance between masculine and feminine days around here, and some that play both. Like Woden's Day is a bit of both, and that's kind of trickster energy, which we covered a bit earlier today on my chat with Rev and Seba, with Reverend Bridge Feltis over at the Intersection for Mankind. What we talk about is it's Friday, Frigga's Day. She's the goddess of love and beauty and art and passion. So you'd spend it with dance, sensuality, sexuality. And so Friday, Frigga's Day, is associated. I didn't do the planets. I'll come back to the planets. Okay. And so then you have Frigga's Day, which is associated with the planet Venus. And so you get the relationship there. And, the incense that is utilized primarily is sandalwood. It's beautiful, beautiful scent. Has an impact on the brain centers as well. I may spend just a quick Sunday that talks about how aromatherapy or the concept of aromatherapy works and how it impacts both the physical body as well as the brain. So keep in tune. We won't be back until the last Sunday of this month. So we'll see what comes up between now and then for how we're going to chat about that. All right. So again, we're at Frigga's Day, beauty, and it's sandalwood, and it's a day that covers all of those things. It might be a good day, that's for self-care. You may want to soak in the bath, get you some lavender flowers, a bath bomb from one of your favorite folks. I like to use the stuff out of my good friends out of, what is it called? I use body butter. And so it's the Serenity Lady. They have a wonderful shop in Inglewood where they have little bath bombs and bath balls, traditional herbs for your baths. So you can soak and get yourselves well. I don't do a lot of baths these days because being 6'4", most of my bath has been taking the herbs and kind of pouring them over myself because I don't fit in the bathtub. And I got to get a special tub built, but I bought the place where I live. I had the great fortune of being able to own a home, and in doing so, to redo the bathroom just for a bathtub is a little much, frankly. So at this point, maybe when I'm old, I'll finally be able to get back into a tub where I can soak and really enjoy the bath. But as you do the Tai Chi Chuan, the yoga, the meditation, the other things, I don't need as much. I try and get in a good massage from some of our KhASA members, try and support our team. So that way you have an opportunity to really get to know who we are. We got acupuncturists in the crew, we have midwives in the crew as a way to utilize these days. So like Friday be a great day for all of those things, acupuncture, self-care in terms of massage and soaking, just awesome. And then we get to Saturn's Day. You notice the planet is obviously going to be Saturn, okay? And that energy is connected to KhASA, or that kind of masculinity that deals with architecture, planning, masculine kinds of planning and building in terms of things like blueprints, those sorts of things. And the energy there is also frankincense, but it's also myrrh in terms of the aromatherapy. And the ideal there is that it's masculine, but it's in terms of masculine creativity, masculine concepts of building and construction. All right. So that went through, and I didn't go, let me go back, and I talked about, I'm going to jump back very quickly. So Sundays, obviously the sun. Moon Day and Mondays, obviously the moon. Tuesday, or Martes, Mars, Martial, deals with the planet Mars. Odin's Day, Woden's days, Wednesday. Wednesday is connected to communication, travel, correspondence, and so the use of electronics. And so then that's going to have you connected directly to the planet Mercury. Okay. And in Kemet, Mercury was referred to as a planet that was ruled by Sebek, the crocodile. And so just leaving little, you almost call them like breadcrumbs or threads for the very clever, those that are really seeking to want deeper understanding. These are ways that you can do your own research and get a little deeper, and we can have a more in-depth conversation. So that's Wednesday, connected to Mercury. Thursday, in our tradition, is connected to the planet Jupiter, which in this phase is connected to Jehuti, Ma'at, and Sashata. But under deeper steady, it's also connected to Heru, because basically it's called the Heru of the South, the planet Jupiter. All right. And so then Friday is connected to Venus, Saturday, Saturn. And so we get that in quick, those 7. And then people try and say that those were the 7 known kind of planets that you could actually see with the naked eye for the most part. And so our ancestors were allegedly told that they only knew about those things. So I won't get into that, but I am going to get a little bit deeper into this one concept before I wind it up, unless folks have specific questions. And the first one is this, that Westerners have 7-day weeks, and they're devoted. So it's broken up into basically it's 52 weeks of 7 days a week, and the year has been shifted so that it arbitrarily starts in between the season, in the middle of a season, in between equinoxes, and it's not connected to the lunar cycle or the solar cycle or any cosmic cycle that is currently about. It's connected to a money cycle. And so that's going to be part of the challenges that many people have in terms of getting their ability to maintain their health and their wellness, and to utilize some of their cultural magics to be able to do so within a Western framework. It's a bit challenging. And so we'll hold that thought and put a pin in that, and going to come back. Okay, so I'm going to continue now to understand. So in Kemet, which is where we get our 365 and a quarter day year, which is where we get our understanding of seasons and the seasonal shifts, which is where we get our understanding for the hours of the day and the times of the day. They had 10-day weeks. And they had 3 weeks a month, 10 days, 3 weeks, that's 30 days a month. And they did that because they knew that the lunar cycle was roughly 29 and a half days. So that kept them close to the lunar cycle in terms of agriculture, in terms of planning for being able to stay in harmony with nature. And then the solar cycle was connected to the cosmic cycle, which I covered elsewhere, but the relationship between Septet or Sirius A and our sun is such that the Septet cycle is 365 and 1/4 Earth days, and from heliacal rising to heliacal rising. And that's also the amount of time it takes to Earth to go to orbit the sun, roughly. So what they also did in understanding that was they had, again, 10-day weeks, 3 weeks a month. So that's 30 days per month. So that's 12 months in a year. It was broken up into 3 seasons of 4 months. So it gives you 12 months. Nice and simple. Geometric even, because that's 360. And the 365 came about because it afforded them the opportunity to teach their cosmology on the other 5 days and tie that into the story of their spirituality, so that their young people and any child could then explain to you the unfolding of the cosmos and the unfolding of the cosmogenesis of their understanding of the world. Even a child could do that, because they could say that, well, we have this, we have this, we have this, and we have these 5 special days that covers the year. So now we have 365 and 1/4 days. And even the children could do that, because you could tell it through symbol, and tell it through metaphor, so that these great symbols and these great understandings can be simplified through talking about the NTRu and their role and function. And then we expand on that cosmogenesis, because there were 3 seasons. Okay, you had basically the inundation season, the planting season, and the harvest season, or dry season in Kemet. And the reason I raise it that way is I've talked about this much more directly on some of these others. I've kept them on Instagram, so you have them. It's called Liberation Tools. It's there. Also, if you're going to be catching this on our YouTube channel, it's there as well, Liberation Tools, as a way for you to learn more about your physical body's relationship to the planet, and then the interrelationship between your body and the planet. So those 3 things are what we're covering in very general ways on these Sunday chats. And it affords us the opportunity to go first at a superficial level, mundane level, break down the concepts, the understandings, and then we come back and we hit it again a little deeper. So that way we have informed conversation, so that the folks that roll through to come through have a chance to ask more informed questions. And so I know many of you were talking about, man, you'd have talked about some astrological, cosmological, all that kind of crazy stuff. Where can I get more information on that? And hold on just one second. I'll show you exactly where you can get that information. Okay, so some of you may or may not have this book. This is called The Signs, right here, The Signs by Sister Sonia Marie. Awesome sauce. Okay, we'll get it right here so you can see it. Get it in here. Okay, this is an amazing, amazing book, as it talks about the relationship and how you can practically and effectively utilize understanding of the vibrations that are created through the shift in the planetary structures on a day-to-day basis to aid you. She's one of, even though I'm an astrologer, she is my favorite. She is also the astrologer for Essence Magazine. She's awesome. Worth, if you're having some doubts and some clarity, want somebody, she is awesome. Talk to you like your auntie. All right. The other thing you can do in terms of looking more clearly, getting a deeper understanding, what I utilize is books like hers. I've gotten a deeper understanding into the Chinese astrology, sidereal astrology, as well as the Chinese astrology, in terms of the 12-year cycles, going through also the 5-element cycles. So they're like 60-year grand cycles, 5 elements, 5, 12, right? You feel me? All right. So, and then there's a larger grand cycle that folks can go through, because each cycle of 12 years, you want to go through each of the different elements. And that's what I mean by the grand cycle. And so that folks understand that, when our ancestors went through these and taught this in terms of cycles, in terms of relationships to the planet, there's also a way that you get this through your spirituality or your cosmology or mythology. And then the understanding of the plant medicines that are connected to the cosmology. And as those things merge, you begin to see that what you have is a culture emerges, a way of life, a way of being in space with other people. And understanding, so that if I say Sundays about Heru, Heru is the sun, or Heru is the first avenger, the one who set things right and who established the ground and the laws to take the place of his father, to help the community to see what it is meant to be forthright and upright, what it means to be a warrior who is fully grown, who has dealt with his shadow, who has dealt with his so-called darkness and has merged and has become a whole being, and is in touch with his spirit as well as his physicality, and able to express himself as a fully realized man. Mondays affords you the opportunity to cultivate empathy, compassion, to understand the role of the mother being able to protect, to defend, to be able to make things manifest that didn't exist before. Okay? to have the ability to see it and to know that even your tears and your sorrows, your lamentations provide life-giving, nurturing energy for all those around you. And then you get to Tuesday and you have the Herukuti, that strong, masculine, vibrant warrior energy. The one who brings forth what was thought in the ethereal realms manifest into reality. The one who cuts the way through into reality, the one lover of truth, the one that loves truth so much that they'll lose their own ego and release themselves so that they may serve truth. Then we get to Wednesdays where we start to cultivate effective communication, which means listening, which means being able to see far ahead, listening all around, having appropriate situational awareness, and then using the gift of Medu Nefer, or good speech, as a tool to build and aid folks in understanding that there are boundaries, there are relationships, and there are consequences to transgression. As one of the first warriors that people meet is the messenger, is the bringer of the message, is the one who has the twin snakes together, talking about the opposing sides and the truth and the way to have them merge together so that they may rise up, that we may communicate with one another using our higher selves and our best selves. And one of the ways that we do that in Kemet was the phrase we did when we met one that we say, NTRu. And that phrase is loosely, praise unto you, or hey, what's up, what's happening, how you doing, what's happening? What it really means is, show me your true face. And then you say the name, so NTRu Inpu Ka Mut. Show me the true face of the opener of the ways for the spirit of the mother. That's the person I want to interact with. And so it aids in having direct communication, pure listening, so that someone can feel heard, and not just heard, but listened to. They can tell by the behavior and character of the response of the person that they're conversing with. And it's with, not to. Then we get to Thursday, and we're working with Jehuti Ma'at and Sashata. And we're talking about truth telling, truth living. We're talking about the establishment of order and righteousness and reciprocity, justice, the doing of these things, the making these things manifest, as well as the beauty of art, the science of art, right? Of vibration, of frequency, of number. And then we get to Frigga's Day, Friday, that day of beauty, of dance, of art, sensuality. That also can deal with food, because folks have got to understand that that's the plant science and plant medicine as well. Then we get to Saturn's Day, or Saturday, bringing it on in. And we get into also Sabado, or the Sabbath day, that very special day dealing with connection to the higher power, that long looking and seeing energy that enables you and affords you the opportunity to plan, to focus. And though looking at it from another realm, and by looking at it from another realm, you want to consider that the plans aren't real yet. Even though you've written them down, they're not manifest. And so they're in more of a bound and protected space until you put them out and they begin to interact with this realm through the physical act of manifestation. And so as you go through the different days, you begin to get an understanding for a particular way of being that starts to cultivate a particular character within you. And one of the ways that we utilize this is through NTRu, the different chants and songs that connect you to the different NTRu, NTRu, that affords you a deeper understanding beyond books, but a direct experience with the NTRu, that then enable you to more deeply and fully experience this world. I'm so grateful for the opportunity that we've had to share together here, me to share this little bit of information. I want to say thank you. I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to share this together, that if you have any questions or comments, issues, concerns, please holler on the social media, that I am here at 3 p.m. Pacific time, the first and last Sundays of the month. So they kind of come back to back sometimes, back to back sometimes. First and last. Sundays of the month at 3 p.m. Pacific. Then they'll also go up on the internets, and you'll find them at our KhASA YouTube page under Liberation Tools, because our goal is to find and utilize these tools to reassemble our culture in ways that free us, in ways that allow us the opportunity to remember our culture and to live it every day. And so I implore you to remember who you are, and to remember that whether you're born in these Americas, and you may be, African culture was not stolen from us. We have practiced it all of our lives here. The practice of it is in what you do with your family every day. Some of those things that you've done since you were a child that you may not know about. We talked about a little of it in terms of how you clean your place. Africa has always been with us. I really need you to understand and see it. Because again, there's ignorance on all these different sides, but we never lost Africa. It changed form when it came here with us. And in that changing form, we need to utilize some of the things of this land to keep us whole, because culture lives, it moves on, it doesn't just remain static, it's dynamic. I really want you to understand what that means. You are African. And if you don't hail from Africa and you're checking this out, that's cool too. Know where your ancestors come from, because you're not white. You aren't Asian. You have an ethnicity. You have a culture. You have a history. And the more you take the time to learn about it and learn about your culture's impact on the world, the healthier it will be for you as you interact with others. I'm grateful for this opportunity to share this little bit of information with you. I'm grateful that we had this time together. I'll say to you, Hatipu, peace unto you, the Uncle Jasaneb, life, health, and prosperity. And we will see you on the last Sunday, unless you're checking out our Tuesday, Thursday Tai Chi sessions on our live Zooms or on our YouTube, or you're really connected with the Kemetic Ahan Sama Association, you're getting involved in our check-ins, you're supporting our connected businesses, be they online or you got connected and you're getting our monthly newsletter. If not, holla at me so you can get the newsletter, stay up with us, see what's going on. We have some amazing things coming this year. Over the next few weeks, we're going to begin talking about our spring equinox community fast. We're going to be introducing some experiences, and I'm going to be devoting several Sundays and outside of our normal first and last, so the folks are ready for the equinox when we get in there and we do our fast. So you'll have opportunity to choose to join us. Check it out. It'll be very healing and healthy for your body. One last thing is that a couple of our partners, the Shooter Cipher, which is a Black women's empowerment through firearms knowledge and information group, as well as a group that goes shooting together, and a Raw Life Defense, which is a part of the Urban Self-Defense Institute and part of the Seneca Ryu Jiu-Jitsu community through Dr. Moses Powell. They are partnering together. That's Raw Life Defense and Shooter Cipher. So that if you're in the local area down in Long Beach on the 15th, 11 a.m., they're doing a women's empowerment piece talking about firearm safety and women's self-defense. I would check it out. It's a donation, but it's definitely well worth your time and well worth your ability to donate if you are able to get down there and check it out. Because these times, particularly for Black people, while it may be in transition, it is still the United States of America, and it's still roughly every 28 hours, one of us is being killed by members of the state or its supporters. So take care, remain situationally aware. Please wear a mask. Please wear a mask. Our ancestors based things in science that was right and exact. So I'm asking you to behave as if your ancestors would. Get you a mask. Hatapu, Uncle Ja Seneb, life, health, and strength. Heru Nefer, good day. And I will see you all once again very soon. Hatapu. Hatapu. Hope that all is well. I'll see you all again soon as well. Blessings to you, Heru Nefer.